What's up, YouTube? Today's topic, as you've seen the title, is going to be calibers for the prepared civilian. And I'm going to be going over a couple of different calibers that I've chosen that I think make the most sense for the prepared civilian aspect when it comes to a community aspect and a team aspect. Now, you can interpret, and maybe swap calibers for what makes the most sense for where you're located at or what your purposes might be. But these calibers I'm going to be going over in this video, they're going to be more of your, broad stroke type stuff. I mean, you're definitely going to know every caliber on this list, and you can probably put it together yourself. But I want to go over, what platforms that makes the most sense and what roles they'll be going to that makes the most sense to help keep you, the viewer, organized and cost efficient so you don't waste time, money, and effort towards other calibers and platforms.
We're going to start from the smallest and work our way up. I think that's how it's going to work at least. But anyways, on everybody's list and every boomer's favorite, 22 long rifle. Now, 22 long rifle is nothing really more than a varmint cartridge. There are some companies coming out now with 22 defense. I assume that's just higher pressured hollow point type stuff. I'll put it on the screen now so you can see it. But I wouldn't know how really trustworthy that is, considering most of the 22 on the market, since it's a Rimfire cartridge. In my personal experience, amongst like the cheaper brands, I would say, or just kind of more of your broad stroke companies. So like for prime example, maybe like the Remington Thunderbolt, I think is what it is. I've got some Winchester 22 right here, and then some CCIs, and I've kind of had the same. I probably had the worst performance out of the Thunderbolts, I would say. I have them. I still have them somewhere. But anyways, back to the purpose. I wouldn't really consider it too much more than just plinking and small varmint. And obviously, in a preparedness type scenario, you're not really going to be doing a whole lot of plinking. It's going to be dedicated to small game essentially. Now, if you had nothing else, could you take a 22 and defend yourself with it? I mean, yes, technically you could, because it is still a firearms cartridge. And yes, you can technically, hitting anything in the right spot, you can take it out with 22. And there are actually hunters that do take, 22 and go out and hunt and take out a lot of stuff with it. And and that's what I personally think. It should be really nothing more than that. You should not make 22 long rifle your defensive cartridges. Yes, you can buy a lot of it for really cheap. Yes, you can get some cool loads, like some, subsonic loads for like nothing essentially. But due to the nature of the cartridge itself being rimfire, at this point in time, I don't think it's reliable enough to make it a defensive cartridge. Not only that alone, it's 36 grains. I mean, yeah, it's still 36 grains traveling 1,280 feet per second, But when it comes to your certain platforms you're going to put it in, let's just say like a 10-22 or like a bolt action, something you have a little bit more accuracy on when it comes to obtaining your small game. That's fine. You can really choose which one you want, because the 10-22 does have some issues of its own. Now, depending on if you do like an aftermarket one, say like the high-end stuff, some of them problems probably do go away. Have I tested that myself? No, probably I have not. But I have shot, off-brand semi-auto 22s in the past, and they've been fine, but, they all kind of get dirty in their own way. So you could either do like a bolt action to kind of prevent some of that stuff, or you could do like a handgun. I actually have this. It's a Heritage 22, and you can actually swap out the chamber here and shoot 22 magnums. I think that's pretty cool, so you can kind of have one gun and do kind of multiple things with it, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I would still choose 22 long rifle over 22 magnum just because of the price alone. I mean, I think I can't tell you exactly what it is offhand. I'll probably throw it up on screen right now or something like that. The current prices of like just a plain Jane Full Metal Jacket 22 Magnum or 22W. Is it tell you specifically what it is. It's 22 WMR. But yes, that is what I think 22 long rifle should be at the fullest extent, and really nothing more. Just because it's so cheap and you can get a bunch, that's really the biggest thing of why it's made it on the list. All right, option number 2, or what should I say, choice number 2. Obviously, you're probably gonna know what this. You can probably guess what this one is too, but 9mm. Now, when it comes to your prepared to civilian aspect, 9mm is really only going to be used in 2 types of systems. So, prime example, obviously your handgun. If you are not running 9mm in your handgun, like, what are you doing? The ammunition is so cheap. For the price for performance and what you get, it nothing beats it. It outclasses everything. 9mm is, at this point in time, I'm pretty sure it's literally the cheapest centerfire cartridge you can get. And 9mm is the most common handgun round on the planet. You can go into any gun store. You can probably go to anybody's house and find it also too. I mean, just kind of thinking about it a little bit more. I heard a statistic one time that 8 out of 10 handguns in the world were 9mm. I don't know exactly how true that is. But if I had to guess, I would say so, considering that the market availability of 9mm. Now, just so you do know, when it comes to your pistol calibers, 9mm is the only one on this list. And I know all the boomers are crying, where's 45? Then you got your 40 cal people. Oh, 40 cal is way better than 9mm. Okay, like, calm down. The juice, first off, when it comes to 40, 9mm is better because the juice isn't worth the squeeze when it comes to 40 cal. 9mm is less recoiling, and you have almost similar, not quite exact, but extremely similar performances. And then with your 45 guys, they're going to say, oh, you can shoot them one time and take them out with 45. And that 9mm, you got to shoot them, twice as many times. Because, listen, this is all stuff we've heard from other individuals in the past. It's kind of hilarious. But when it comes to price of what things cost, 9mm is just so much cheaper. And specifically, when it comes to the platform it goes in, a Gen 3 Glock style platform that shoots 9mm is more. You're gonna have more parts for this platform than any other platform there is. Now, obviously, this is the 45 size. Technically, it's the 17 size grip with the 19 size slide. Yeah, it's a Ruger RXM, but that's pretty much the size it is. This is going to be a very common size. You can conceal carry this or holster carry it, outside the waistband. You can do multiple things with it. Now, handgun option number 2, we have a 43X style pistol. Now, this one specifically is a Glock 43X lower grip and then a Brownells upper slide. The main advantage you really gain over like a pistol like that, like 19 size or something like that, is that this one is slim. As you can see, I'll just hold it up for prime example so you can see. You can see how much slimmer it is, and that's really the only advantage. Slimmer is a little bit shorter. Yeah, they're still reliable. They are a little bit more snappy. Is it something that you cannot control? Like, no. Like, we're human beings shooting pistols. Obviously the smaller gun with the same size caliber is going to snap a little bit harder, obviously. But that's about as small as I personally would want to get. Obviously, you could even go even smaller, like a micro-sized pistol. There's a couple manufacturers out there that make them even smaller than that. They make like the micro-sized 1911s, and those are all right. But personally, if when it comes to something like that, I kind of want to stick to like a Glock size platform or Glock style type platform. And now we're going to be moving out of the handgun selection, and we're going to be moving it into the big size in which you'd want to put 9mm in. And this is a pistol caliber carbine. Now no disclaimer. This is not a duty style weapon. The PCC, and now whenever I'm referring to PCC, I mean like the whole thing. So let's take like MP5, MPX. Now those have been used in offensive measures, but when it comes to prepared civilian type stuff, I don't think that really makes too much sense for us. Now, obviously, you do you, champ. Like, if you want to run a 9mm as your offensive cartridge because it's like half the price of rifle calibers, you do you. You can absolutely do that if you want. But I would, me personally, I would reserve the 9mm as like the upgraded version of 22. You use it for, say, your community aspect of people you have, not your team go get the job done type people. You kind of want the best tool for the job when it comes to your team aspect. But whenever it's just like, you know, around the homestead, you got families there and all that, and if everybody had to take up arms, in my personal experience, the females that I've let shoot AR-9s compared to, say, an AR-15 that shoots 5.56, they've all enjoyed the AR-9 better. Mainly because it's lighter, because it's like in this platform, it's an 8-inch barrel in a pistol configuration, rather than say like a rifle length system, like a 16-inch barrel or something like that. And plus two, I know this is gonna sound like we don't really necessarily care, but like the concussive force off of that. For some reason, the females I've been around prefer the AR-9 because of the weight and the less concussive coming off of it. So yeah. Now there are some people out there that swear by 9mm for stuff, you know, using it offensively or just, you know, general purpose stuff. And you could absolutely do that because it's your choice at the end of the day. But I think the 9mm, I think the barrel length range that really shines in when it comes to civilian aspects would probably be the 6-inch range to the 12-inch range. I wouldn't really go outside of that because if you have a 16-inch length barrel that shoots 9mm, it's kind of like, what are you doing? You know, if you're taking something that long, you might as well have a rifle cartridge. Now, this particular one takes Colt style mags. I do not recommend you do that because if you're shooting Glock platform type handguns, I would recommend you have one that takes the same mags as your handgun, as your PCC. So in my personal opinion, that kind of eliminates almost all of them. If you're going to get like a real PCC that shares the same magazines as your handgun, obviously it's going to be your Glock double stack mags. There's not really a way around it in my personal opinion. That's just what it is. And we will be revisiting this topic in the future. We will be obtaining a Glock style AR-9 and we'll build it out to what makes sense for the rear echelon type people. Community driven aspect, like the community, not the people who's doing the actual job, the people kind of at the homestead and the community aspect. Your non direct fighting type people. All right, number 3 on the list, we have 12 gauge.
Also 12 gauge shotgun, and I promise you,
12 gauge is the most universal cartridge on this list solely because of how much stuff you can pack into those shells. Between the size of things and the shapes of different things. You know, there's a lot of different loads out there you can use, but, you know, the more common stuff is birdshot, buckshot, and slugs. And they even make some flare rounds, but, you know, that's more of a signal device, not a defensive load. Now, the system, what's going to make the most, probably best sense for us prepared civilians is you can either have, say, a tactical style shotgun that can flex into the role of hunting, or you have the hunting style shotgun that can kind of flex into the tactical space. I think the truth lies in the middle between there somewhere. Because, you know, the more tactical style shotguns, they will have more of a shorter barrel. I think like the minimum legal length is like 18.5 inches, somewhere around there. And then you can have your hunting style shotguns, and they range from like 28 inches all the way up to like 32 or something like that. Maybe your, you know, target style shotguns have those longer barrels. But it's going to make most sense for us because we're going to be obtaining wild game and defensively. it's going to be probably best to probably have that tactical style shotgun that can, you know, achieve those tighter shots while, like, you know, keeping your load at a smaller spread further. Or heck, if you just want to, you know, or have both, you do you know, but different guns have different roles, obviously. So if you want to have two different shotguns, and the chances are you probably already have probably a shorter, you know, Mossberg 500 at the house, more than likely already. And you probably have, you know, probably a hunting shotgun already too. So if you have something like that already, you're probably fine. The biggest thing for you to use for your scenario is getting to know the tool that you have. And if you deem the tool you have not worthy, just heck, well then do some research and choose the one you'd get, whether it's pump or semi-auto. My personal shotgun that I have here, this is my hunting shotgun. It's a Beretta A300 Ultima, chambered in 12 gauge. I shoot everything from doves to ducks to pheasants to deer with this thing. And heck, even hogs and stuff like that. Just the variety is so much. And I do like the Ultima because of the enlarged controls, you know, like the oversized bolt, the bolt release here, and the feeding tray. Move that the way so you can see. And I've actually added this Velcro on the side for Velcro side saddles. This is actually very handy, and that's pretty much what the market's really doing. The plastic side saddles ain't really a thing no more. I mean, they are, but the Velcro side saddles are really taking the market. But anyways, besides the point, this shotgun has ran flawlessly since I've had it, and I couldn't tell you how many rounds I've run through it. I've had this shotgun for probably about 2.5 years now, and I don't think I've had one miss cycle. This thing is very nice. And this is in bottom lane camo. This is probably my favorite hunting camo there is. Now this, you know, but anyways, I'm not going to nerd out on camo right now. Now, you might have something that probably looks like this, more of like a pump style shotgun, because let's be real, everyone has had a pump style shotgun at some point. Everyone has. I've even had one, but I just preferred the semi-auto. Now with the pumps, you know, they do kick a little bit more. So whenever you're shooting your longer 3-inch shells for stuff like that, like if you're gonna like buy some 3-inch, so basically some high-powered 3-inch loads, if you wanted to like really get some good buckshot for, you know, taking out that deer that you plan on feeding your community or your team or your homestead, fill in the blank, whatever you want. I would recommend probably the semi-auto for that because you can have faster follow-up shots and the recoil doesn't kick as bad versus a pump action. Now the next cartridge on our list is going to be 5.56. Now 5.56 is going to be typically your cheapest centerfire cartridge that's a rifle caliber that you can pretty much get your hands on. Now I know what you're thinking. Of course 5.56 is on this list, as it should be. We are all aware of the capability of 5.56 and the price to performance ratio you get. And obviously the military still uses it. They've had it in service for what? Since the early 70s, late 60s, somewhere in that time frame. It's not going anywhere. It's here to stay. And I highly doubt it'll ever go away in the history of our country. And when it comes to the prepared civilian side of things, your team should definitely be using it for their general purpose cartridge. I don't think you should be running anything else typically. But now when it comes to the community, the chances are everybody in the community, because the AR-15 is so popular, somebody has an Anderson or a Palmetto State just lying around somewhere. So you could definitely use that for your community aspect. But now, and honestly, those cheaper rifles, you can probably get by with them in that aspect. You know, you're not using them for an offensive role. You might want to have a nicer rifle towards that, say like a BCM or a Geisley, or anything of like, you know, that mid-tier and higher. The lowest I would probably go in that area would probably, for a team style rifle, would probably be an Air Precision. But sometimes those have their problems too, but they're just not as existent as, say, like an Anderson or a Palmetto State. Now, when it comes to your preparedness group, the last caliber I'm going to recommend is just going to be a bigger hunting ammunition. because I know that most people already have probably a hunting rifle at home of some kind, like in a bolt action rifle, or maybe even a semi-auto rifle. And those calibers could vary between like 6.5 Creedmoor, 308, maybe even 270, and a bunch of other ones, even 6.5 Grendel. The possibilities are endless. So as long as you just probably get choose one caliber, and y'all agree in your group and you agree upon it, and y'all just stockpile that one, and y'all know how to shoot it good, that's really all it takes. You know, you could get, you know, there's different ammos that go on sale for hunting ammunition, and who's to say that, you know, one option might be better than another when all of the rounds that you're associating with cost, you know, like, yeah, whatever amount you want to put in. But you know, the hunting cartridge is really user specific. So as long as y'all can agree upon one and y'all can really stockpile one type and be good with it, that's really all that matters. Me typically, I have chosen 6.5 Creedmoor, and I will have some more 6.5 Creedmoor content coming up in the future. But I also have an AR-10 right here, and we will also be doing some accuracy testing with this. Now, when I mean accuracy testing, I mean we'll just show you like what it can do. You know, side note, it's a polymer state AR-10. It can't be that crazy, but we'll do it, you know, for the video and for y'all. So, but bottom line, you know, the hunting rifle or semi-auto platform you put it in, really anybody in the group, whether it's team or it's community, y'all can use it. You know, it's not dedicated to kind of one person only. It's just whoever its task is at the point to obtain game, or heck, maybe even take a long shot in a team aspect. Say if you wanted to shoot 1,000 yards, and heck, you could easily take 308 and 6.5 Creedmoor out of those distances, or the grainage that comes with that. But it all comes back to knowing your tools and knowing how to use them. That's the biggest part where it really comes to this section right here. Now, the last cartridge that I'm going to say on this list is going to be 300 Blackout. The only reason 300 Blackout is on this list is because of how good it is at being quiet. And you probably already know that with it, you know, you've probably seen videos of it being shot in a, you know, subsonic setting with a suppressor and all that. And that's really it. It's just really good at doing that. I don't really recommend it for transonic use when it comes to being a general purpose cartridge. The only reason you would use full powers is if you're shooting subsonic and say your cover's blown while you're trying to conduct whatever mission you're doing quiet, and you use full powers from thereafter so you can get that extra power. That's really about it. I know, like I showed y'all a full power and a subsonic a second ago, but that's the only reason I have them. We're going to be doing some 300 Blackout videos in the future so we can kind of capture some of this stuff. And yeah, when it comes to the community aspect, it's just use 5.56 or 9mm. You know, that's going to be better for your community sense. Now, if somebody already has 300 Blackout in the community, I mean, yeah, I guess they can use it until they run out, essentially. And then they have to default to whatever they have left. But it's really going to shine in the team aspect and being quiet. Now, in the future of the channel, we will be making more videos about the calibers I have shown y'all today for the prepared civilian, because our needs are not always the same as an officer's roles, a military member's role. It's going to be more tailored towards the prepared civilian in the configuration that we need it. And if this content sounds like you're interested in, please consider hitting that subscribe button and give the video a like, and turn all the notifications on so you can get every thing I put out. And I don't have a dead set schedule on this, so by clicking that subscribe button, you will be notified of whenever I post something. And if you do, thank you very much, and thank you for watching if you made it this far. Good night.